Welcome to the groundbreaking podcast that will reshape your life. Get ready for an inspiring journey of self-discovery and personal transformation. This is Redesign Your Reality with me, your host, the seasoned entrepreneur and spiritual guide, Randy Lyman. Hello, Seekers of Change. I'm Randy Lyman, and I'm excited to welcome you to a place where we embark on a transformative adventure together. On Redesign Your Reality, we're going to dive deep into the art and understanding of personal transformation and emotional healing. Are you ready to break free from the chains of limiting beliefs, unlock your true potential, and create a reality that resonates with your deepest desires? I've been on this journey myself for over 3 decades, and now I want to share my insights with you. As a successful entrepreneur and spiritual guide, I've learned that the key to a happy and successful life lies within the power of our emotions. But it's not just about me. Redesign Your Reality is about you and the incredible guests we'll be bringing on board. We're talking to experts who have mastered the art of emotional healing, manifestation, and spiritual evolution. Together, we'll explore the realms of possibility and provide you with the tools to embark on your own transformational journey. Are you ready to challenge the status quo, rewrite your story, and create a life that aligns with your deepest passions? If so, you're in the right place. Grab your headphones, open your mind, and join us on Redesign Your Reality. Because guess what? A happy and successful life is not a distant dream. It's actually closer than you think.
So, in the world of healing and emotions and all of these things, you hear the term inner child frequently. But I know I've had confusion around that, and other people might as well. What is your take on the role of an inner child and what it means?
The inner child is that part of us that is so prevalent when we're children. There's 3 basic parts of being human that I look at. There's our mind, our personality, our ego, all the same. Mm-hmm. There's our higher intuitive self that has a better perspective, or kind of our soul's perspective. And then there's the inner child. And so the inner child, as an adult, the inner child brings us creativity and joy and fun and playfulness and those wonderful things. But at the same time, the inner child usually holds the emotional wounds because we were typically wounded as a child. If any of us were wounded as an adult, which we are, it happens, usually it's a reflection or a reminder of some earlier childhood wound. So our emotional wounds can be classified or characterized as living within the wounded child part of ourselves. Okay. And that begs the question, why don't I just ignore the inner child part of myself?
Right.
And if I do that, then I am suppressing or killing the creativity and the joy and the happiness and all the things that part of myself brings to me. Mm-hmm. And now people say, grow up, don't be a child. Well, I'm not saying be childish.
Right.
I'm saying be childlike, playful, happy, fun, creative, open-minded, and those things. So to me, that's what the inner child is.
When you hear the phrase reparenting your inner child, in terms of like you're going to go back and heal those wounds or sort of be the parent you didn't have in certain circumstances or whatever.
This is a good question.
How do people start I've been told, oh, you need to reparent your inner child. Your inner child's sad because, your dad was an alcoholic. And there's obvious ways in which I needed to maybe but how do I do that?
Talk to them. Talk to them as if they're a person. I know people who name their inner child, their child self.
I actually did that once.
Okay. It works. And for me, it's little Randy, because as soon as I say that, I think of this picture of me when I'm like 2.5 years old. Dressed in cowboy boots and Levi's.
So that part hasn't changed.
That part hasn't changed. But I think of that, and then suddenly I have that perspective on life. I have that understanding that whatever I experienced then was from a place of innocence. Mm-hmm. I see that fortunately I have a picture of me when I was very happy. I was happy as a child. So I see that. I have the happiness. And I realize that child experienced the world differently than me, but I also recognize that child is still a part of me. So I talk to him and say, wow, you really went through some crap, and it's unfortunate you did that. And what did it feel like? And I imagine it felt this way. And I speak for them. I speak to them. And once I have that conversation, it puts my mindset in a place of finding the wound or finding healing. Mm-hmm. It occupies and distracts my mind. So my mind's not trying to hijack the process of going back to those feelings of the child. And when I start to talk to that child, that part of me is almost like a separate part of me that I have to talk about as like the subconscious. And maybe it is the subconscious. I'm not a clinical psychologist, so I can't label those things. I don't know enough about it.
Right.
But when I label that inner child part of me and I talk to it like it's separate, I get results from that. And the results are all that matter to me because I can get an idea of what I was feeling when I was younger, or what that part of me is feeling. And when I talk to that part and said, I'm here for you as the adult, you can feel your emotions that are real to you. You can have these feelings and express your feelings and do all that with me. Then the internal turmoil that I feel around my emotions gets relieved. And I can't explain it. All I care is I get the results. So it occupies my mind. My mind knows it's safe to talk to a part of myself. That part of myself gets acknowledged and doesn't act up anymore and is able to release the trauma that they were holding.
And if you told me to picture my inner child, I will say that the version of me that comes to mind immediately is very sad. Does that mean that that is what she's holding on to primarily, or that's what needs to be released?
That's what needs to be released now, at the moment. Because we're always given what we need at the moment. The universe guides us to where we need to be. We think it's all random. It's not random. So
it could be different in a year. The inner child might, if I think of my inner child, would she be different maybe?
Most likely, yes.
Okay, so it could be.
Especially when you work through the sadness. You don't have to work through all of it, but you work through some of the sadness. If there's something bigger that's more appropriate to work through, then when you talk to your inner child and they have something to share, it's probably going to be different. And you work through that the best you can. And if you can't, say, well, I can't really help you with that right now, but what else can there be? That doesn't happen very often because usually the universe is so appropriate. When we start to talk to that inner part of ourselves, we are guided to exactly where we need to be. And we think, no, I don't really have that issue. Well, we do have that issue. We do have the opportunity, and that's why it's guided to us. It's our subconscious. It's the subconscious part of us talking to us. Whether it's our actual subconscious, a part of our brain, whatever that is, it doesn't matter. It's a part of us that's not our cognitive reasoning, and therefore we can go deeper into our emotions without being stuck in our cognitive mind.
Well, and you talk a lot about the fact that our words matter. So I'm curious, in this context, how much do my words matter? Does it matter if I identify correctly that she's sad or she's lonely, or maybe she's sad and lonely? Or what do I tell her? Is there a right thing? Is there a wrong thing? So
first of all, inner child is similar to intuition in the way that it doesn't have to defend its position or justify its position or convince you of anything. It speaks relatively clearly, relatively succinctly, and it always uses the right words.
But when I'm talking to the
it,
inner
okay,
child,
now when you're talking to us, it's clear. When we're talking to it, it's like a child, and you have children, so you know that you don't always have to say the right things. As long as you don't say the wrong things, if you acknowledge, even using the wrong words, if you make the attempt to acknowledge what your inner child is feeling, just like when your son or your daughter needs attention and you give them attention, they don't care how perfect the attention is.
That's probably really true. Yeah.
They just say, pay attention to me, acknowledge me.
Right.
And then they get a chance to express and be heard and feel better. And the inner child is exactly the same way. It doesn't need to be recognized perfectly. It just needs to be recognized.
That's really interesting because that is definitely something I see in my own kids, that they want to feel heard and supported more than they hang on the exact words that you say. And so an inner child would be similar.
They don't even need solutions. They just need the acknowledgement. And through the acknowledgement, the system of being human and the intent of healing and dealing with the child and connecting with their higher self, all that just kind of comes into alignment. Does it happen the first time we do it? No. But the more we practice it and the more we suspend our doubt and we entertain the belief that it'll work, then the universe conspires for us and it starts to work.
Yeah. Well, I think it's so helpful to give really clear examples. So if we were going to role play, we can do my inner child or yours, whichever one you want.
I'll do mine.
Okay. So if you role played for us just 3 or 4 sentences of what exactly would what would you say to your inner child?
So what I would say is, when I look back at the 2.5-year-old me, I would say, I'm sorry that the adult self of me wasn't there to give you the attention that you needed. I'm sorry that our parents were busy living their life. They were young. It was new. To them, it was complicated. They did the best they could, and they loved you even when you didn't feel the love. They did the best to express that. And so whatever you are holding on to of not being worthy of love, if you're not being deserved of love, if you're not being deserved of being acknowledged, if you weren't getting the attention that you needed to get, had nothing to do with you. And now me as the adult Randy, I appreciate who you are. I appreciate your creativity. I appreciate the joy that you express. I appreciate the innocence and the perspective you bring to so many parts of my life. And I'm sorry you felt the pain that you did, and you still feel it at some level, but you can let that go now. And together we can work through this and life will get better.
I love that. This actually reminds me of, I tell my own kids that you can't have the privileges of getting older without sort of the responsibilities. And this is almost the reverse of that, is like we're afraid of the pain of that. But if we close ourselves off, we lose the joy and the wonder too. And that's the price we pay for not getting back in touch with our inner child.
And sadly, it's a price most people pay, and it's a huge price. Because it's embarrassing to think, oh, I'm an adult. I'm 62 years old and I'm a child. Yeah, I'm still that child. That's still real within me. And I've had things I processed through in the last few months that are from 60 years ago that child part of me experienced. And I've said before, I never had a traumatic childhood, but the things I experienced, I internalized as trauma because I'm just a little kid trying to survive in an unknown world. So when we talk to that child, we're going to, if we're open to it, we're going to be guided as to what to say, and we have to be vulnerable. And it's easy to be vulnerable when I'm talking to a 2-year, 3-year-old, 6-year-old child. Imaginary? Maybe. No, for me, it's real. But the point is, I'm not vulnerable. I'm not going to be attacked. I can talk to that part of myself that's still hanging on to those old emotions and acknowledge them. And that's all it really takes.
Well, and I think if this feels intangible for anyone, if you are a parent and you look at the things that happen to your own kids that really rile you up or like hit you emotionally, I think a lot of times it's like that reopening of your own inner child, of like your kid got left out, or like was picked last for the kickball team. Right. And there's that part of you that's like, ugh, I was picked last. Like there's that, whereas some things that happen to your kids don't resonate. Like you're like, oh, that's too bad, but it doesn't.
Right. When it resonates with us, it's that opportunity to heal. But you said something we don't understand. So we can't put our finger on GPS, but we use it every day. Mm-hmm. Magnetic field of the earth is there, but you don't know it's there until we use a compass. It's the same thing with the talking to that part of ourself that we can't see and that seems silly. It's real for me, and it works for a lot of people I know. So when we can suspend our belief and try that, it works.
So much of this too, to me, comes back to observation. It's slowing down our day-to-day life enough to really feel and look at what is causing this. What am I feeling? What happened? What's the connecting points? And not just rushing through everything.
100%. Because we're taught we have to rush. And in some ways we do have to rush to get through things in this life today. It moves very fast. Mm-hmm. But we also need to sometimes slow down and take a step back and take many deep breaths and take time for ourselves to regroup and get out of our busy mind so we can feel. We can't be in both our mind and our body and with feelings at the same time.
And in terms of putting this into practice, do you have an opinion on, is writing it down more powerful, like journaling it? Is talking it through? Is there any benefits to any particular way to do it, or is it just kind of whatever feels good?
I believe writing is the most powerful.
Okay.
Free form writing. And a lot of people don't like that because it brings up emotions or it takes time. But when we're manifesting our future, which we're doing every moment, people think, talk about manifesting. Well, we're always manifesting. The universe is always, law of attraction is responding to us and creating our future, whether we're trying to intentionally create something or whether we're just stumbling through the day, it's responding to us. And it responds to 3 things. It responds to our thoughts, our actions, and our emotions. So I can think about something, but if I write it down, now it's not only mental, it's physical also, which gets me closer to the emotional experience and the emotional healing. If it's just in my mind, then and the physical's not involved, then it's not near as powerful. But some people are uncomfortable writing. So if they speak to somebody, then that is another form of physical expression that involves the physical and gets closer to the body. In my opinion, it's not as effective, but everybody's different. Do whatever works.
I know this will shock you, but I can be a little bit of an overanalyzer. So for anyone who has this question too, does it matter? How do I pick my inner child? Do I just go with the first version of myself that pops into mind?
Absolutely.
Can I talk to more than one version?
Probably the first version. Oh yeah, there's more than one version for some people. There definitely are. But the first version is going to be the right one, and we question it, and our mind's going to say, no, that's not right. But our mind also questions our intuition. Our intuition's always right. We have to learn how to speak to that or listen to our intuition, the same as we learn how to speak to our inner child. But I would say most likely the first one.
And also, like, there's not really a wrong answer, right?
Exactly. There is not a wrong answer at all. There's
if you journal to like the wrong version of yourself, that doesn't even really exist.
We're here to experience ourselves, by ourselves, for ourselves. And anything that we experience is a reflection of us, whether it's pain or tragedy or wrongdoing, that we needed this reflection back for us, or whether it's the beauty of our relationship with our friends or our parents' position in our life or whatever it is, it's a part of us. So it doesn't matter who we're really talking to. We're talking to ourselves and we're healing ourselves. So anything that takes us closer to the idea of healing is positive. Even if we don't get very far, any progress is good progress.
So if I were to put this into practice, essentially, I think of a version of myself as a child. So that could be anything under what age? 18 or 14 or 7? How low are we going? Does it matter?
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
I would say, I know I experienced one of my biggest traumas when I was 18 years old.
Okay. So it could be like...
Could be 26.
Okay, yeah. So
it could be 30, but
like
probably not.
Tiny.
It's probably going to be definitely in the first 27 years.
Okay, that's great. So I think of a version of myself, and then essentially I speak or journal a letter of love and affirmation to that version.
Or even ask them questions.
Or ask them questions.
That's the easiest thing, is to ask the questions, because when we ask the questions, we're clear on what we want to know and where we're going. And then we either get the answers or part of them gives us the answers. But questions are wonderful because they don't paint anybody into a corner.
Right. That's interesting. I wouldn't have thought to do that, actually. So that's cool. So ask them what they're feeling?
Right, ask them what they're feeling. And even if we answer that, it doesn't matter. We got the answer. So it doesn't matter if we think it's from them or it's from our mind or wherever it is. So the questions are a great place to start.
Okay. And then are we looking for something, like if it brings up emotion, is that how we know we sort of hit on a pain point?
Well, the end goal is to heal any emotions associated with it, but the process doesn't matter.
Okay.
Anything we do with regards to connecting to that child, whether we're talking to it and reassuring it, whether we're listening to it and acknowledging it, or whether we're just having a conversation that seems like it's going nowhere, we're still establishing intent.
Okay. And that's the important part.
Intent is so huge in how we create our life every day. Not just manifesting, as people say, but if I intend to have something good for lunch, is that a big thing to manifest? No, but it's important.
Right.
If I'm going to walk over to the door to leave the room, I have to have the intent before I can walk to the silly door.
Right.
So intent is the start.
And it's an intent to heal and to prosper and...
It's intent to improve our lives.
To improve.
And the healing is a big part of that. But any change we want to make, even if it's not emotional at all, if it's just a physical discipline, if it's working out,
right. Losing weight,
if it's losing weight, if it's changing my thought processes, if it's writing down a list, if it's completely mental, it doesn't matter. It's all, the intent takes us there, and it's all progress towards a better future.
All right. Well, that's fascinating. And I think the encouraging part is it's something that anyone can fairly easily apply to their life with just a little privacy and some calm. They can start down that path.
There's no wrong way to do it. Anything is good.
I love that. I like when there's no wrong way. All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Thanks for joining us on this transformative journey today. If you've enjoyed Redesign Your Reality, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. And if this podcast has made a positive impact on your life, we'd love to hear about it. Your opinion matters. Leave us a review and share your thoughts. Your feedback fuels our mission to help more people redesign and improve their realities. Until next time, stay inspired, stay empowered, and continue redesigning your own reality. Your support means the world to us.